Let's revive and swatch this vintage Urban Decay nail polish in the shade Urban FX from 1998, likely released during the holiday season. This one is very special, mainly because this has some of the finest holographic glitter I've seen from the 90s. Hard Candy had Space Boy, but that was a much larger particle holographic glitter. In opening this, you'll notice that the brush bristles got stuck in the dried polish, so today I'll be attempting to fix the brush, which is brand new territory in my polish restoration journey. To get the bristles out without breaking or scattering them within the bottle, we need to add a small amount of polish thinner, enough to soften the dried mass, but not too much that we'll have a hard time removing the bristles. We'll let the thinner work its magic overnight. It's the next day and the polish has completely absorbed the thinner. You're probably wondering what the yellow globs in the bottle are, and it's just clear base that has discolored to yellow. With my precision tweezers, I'm going to carefully pull out the bristles, making sure I neatly secure them. If I'm going to fix this brush, I need them all to stay together. I managed to get it out, still with its integral metal staple, which is key for reattaching the bristles. In theory, I should be able to get it back into the wand. Okay, I managed to partially push it in, but I'll need to clean up the wand a bit, scraping the excess polish off of the wand so I can see the staple go in, and I need to clean the bristles too, now that they're partially inserted, otherwise my fingers and tools will get stuck to the sticky polish. I'll be doing this off camera because I really have to lock in and focus without being concerned with camera angles, so I'll be back in a moment. Mission successful. It was really stubborn pushing the bristles back in, particularly the staple. I ended up having to briefly use a heat gun to make the opening a little more pliable, and then quickly used the pointed end of my precision tweezers to push in the staple, letting it find purchase in the plastic of the wand. And then I trimmed the bristles just so they were all even. Now we can just focus on getting the polish fluid again, which should be smooth sailing from here. When thinning a polish with glitter, I always recommend using thinner first, and if the glitter ends up sinking to the bottom after reviving, to let about half of the thinner evaporate with the cap off, and replacing the evaporated thinner with suspension base. If the original base is still effective, and you add more base, it will be too thick and you'll end up having to add more thinner to make it usable, but in doing so the glitter concentration will be reduced. So always keep in mind that thinner is reversible, but base is permanent. Before cleaning the cap threads, I'm just taking my lab spatula and scraping some of the dried polish around the rim so that when I do go in with my lint-free cotton pad, I'm not wasting much product. For lint-free cotton pads, I really like the Whispers brand. I buy them in bulk already to soak off my overlays that protect my natural nails. I get so many requests for an overlay tutorial, but I'm not a licensed nail tech, so I'm not so comfortable giving that kind of tutorial. I do such minimal prep to keep my nails healthy, so I only get about 10 days out of them before I soak off and repeat the cycle. And it takes 2 to 3 hours for me to do, so I don't think my nail routine is sustainable for the average person. Isn't this holo just gorgeous? It's a bit of a catfish though, since it looks so concentrated when dry and stuck to the glass. I'm going to lay this on its side to let the thinner loosen the holo on the side walls, turning it every now and then. We're back and it's looking a little more fluid, so let's grab my lab spatula and stir it up. I've had quite the holiday weekend. On Friday evening, which was July 4th, aka Independence Day, I noticed water on the floor of the basement storeroom. So I went to the furnace room, and of course the water heater was dumping water everywhere, which wasn't terribly surprising since it was installed in 2003, for context, the year we invaded Iraq. So 22 years was a good run. We spent the evening draining the tank into the basement shower drain with a hose and went to bed once there was just a trickle left coming out. But in the morning we go down and there's more water, so apparently the shutoff valve failed and the tank kept filling and spilling onto the floor. So we had to shut off water to the entire house while my husband beat on pipes for a few hours, replacing the shutoff valve. I was fully anticipating a poop cruise situation, where I'd have to pee in the shower and poop in a bag, but he got the new valve installed and disaster was averted. The water is back on. The new water heater will arrive on Monday, and hopefully I can find someone to install it on Tuesday, because I'm not a big fan of cold showers. But I swear, pet and house emergencies always happen on a holiday weekend. That yellowed base really makes this polish look nasty. but let's add some more thinner to it and see what happens. We'll probably be swatching it over a darker base. I know I'm ballsy to use the Vortex after that brush repair, but what better way is there to test it? I added a little more thinner as needed. I sped this up a bit since it's getting long, but after vortexing, I rolled the bottle around a bit more to get that polish off of the glass. And this is where we are now. I know you're feeling catfished, I felt that too, but we'll swatch it and see how it performs. There's a little splotch of base stuck in a corner, but I don't feel like getting my spatula dirty again. It'll be dissolved after a few more hours on its own. I'm gonna grab a black polish, and then we'll swatch this on top of it. I ended up choosing Liquid Vinyl by Orly. I'm not sure if it's still available. I grabbed it on clearance at TJ Maxx a few years ago. But one coat should be enough. But now is the moment of truth for Urban FX. This is surprisingly concentrated for one coat. This may be unpopular, but I'm just gonna do the single coat. I like seeing the negative space between the glitter. I think a second coat would detract from the overall look. But let's top coat it. By itself, it's a bit gritty, but Gel Setter is my favorite for reducing texture from glitter. This is looking like a starry holographic sky. Before I show you it focused, let's just appreciate the unfocused beauty of this polish. I'm obsessed. Here's the final look. Urban FX was so ahead of its time, it makes me want to compare it with Holo Taco's Scattered Holo Topper, so maybe I'll order that and do a split nail swatch. It's probably the closest dupe if you want this look. But you know, after I see what we owe the plumber for installing the water heater, and then I can buy more polish. I'd love to know your thoughts on this revival in the comments below, and if you haven't already, be sure to follow or subscribe for more vintage nail content.